Hi guys, my name's Tony and welcome to my shop. Today we're going to continue our series on items that sell well at craft fairs. Simple projects you can make with your offcuts that are guaranteed to sell next time you get that table set up. Today we're going to be working on the muddler. The muddler is a fun project to make. You can do it with minimal tools. You use your pith offcuts from your bowls that you're putting together, and every time I put them out on the table, especially at a culinary focused show, they sell out right away. So let's get to the lathe. Okay, we're going to start out over at the lathe. I've already marked out both of my ends here, so it's always easier to just get stuff lined up that way. Pick out which one you want to be your top and your bottom. Also, not an important part on this project, but I just like to do these between 4-prong centers. And per your request, we are not going to do all skew work on this one. I know that some people are like, okay, I love the skew, but man, I'm not comfortable trying to crank these out on a skew. So we'll use something that everybody's comfortable with, or at least you should be at this point, just a standard spindle roughing gouge. Now I've got a nice little edge on this one. This is from Mifer. It's an old company out of business now. They were a Spanish company that manufactured professional lathe turning tools back in the day. So first thing we're going to do is we just got to get this round. And since we're between centers, I've got my big pulley on there right now. And we'll be turning at about 1700 RPM. First thing is just to get her round. The trick with this is anchor, let it ride, find your bevel, slowly raise the handle until it starts to cut, and then move it across the piece. Right now we're not trying to get a perfect cut. We're not going for any kind of uniform diameter. We're just bringing it down to size. Now you'll know when you're getting close by the kind of cuts you're getting. You can go both directions. The minute you start to see ribbons coming off, you'll know that you're, oops, a little hesitation mark there. You know that you're mostly square, mostly round, I'm sorry. We started square, we don't want to go back. You can also run your tool across the top of here. We're nice and round over here. We're bouncing around still. Now hopefully, take off my helmet. Hopefully you heard how the wood changed as we got this. So we still have a flat here. We're gonna have a nice, this will probably look really nice at the top of the handle. Got some kind of green here from the bark. Little pinhole, little bug pinhole. We might want to fill those. We'll see if we turn past them or not. Let's go ahead and finish getting it around first. Remember, anchor. Oops, make sure you lock down your tool rest. So you're gonna anchor your tool, start the bevel, and then slowly lift the handle till you start getting a cut. Now if you lay your finger under your tool rest, use your thumb to hold it down, you can get a pretty stable distance as well. Yeah, still feel a flat up here. I don't know where it is, just a teeny bit there. So I'll go ahead and pound through that real quick. Anchor, just get that up there. All right. Hear that? We're good to go. So when laying one of these out, there is no like scientific, you've got to have it this long or that height. Most of the time, if you're doing a muddler, people are going to be using them to make old fashions, mojitos, those kinds of cocktails. Now, mojito is generally going to be served in a taller glass. So I usually like to make them at least 6 inches long. For the big ones, and my smaller ones I'll make a little under 6 inches, maybe 4 to 5 inches sometimes. But the longer you make them, you can always have a little extra weight, and when you're selling these to folks in their home bars, they're going to want it to be decorative and attractive, and the professionals out there are going to want something that really has a little flair while they're mixing cocktails. So next step of this is we're going to just taper this down. We're going to kind of turn it into a cone. To do that, we just kind of go in with our roughing gouge. You know, we want to try to keep a fairly consistent taper. Okay, now we're all the way down there. A little wobble up here, but we're going to be taking a lot of this material away. So you can now anchor and just slowly go down. Kind of rotate your hip around and you'll start to get a little bit of a knob here. So we start our cut and just go down. You can go from the other direction as well. So that's our start of our little knob up here. From here I'm going to decorate it. I'm going to go down a little bit more. I want a little bit more of a taper. Okay. Now I am pulling up the skew just to make myself a mark. We can also use, if we want to, our parting tool there to round this over. I'm going to go ahead and grab a parting tool. I'm going to use my little thin one from Robert Sorby here. And we're just going to cut into this to give us a flat spot. Okay, that's the end of our muddler. And up here will be the top of our muddler. Now using a standard, this is just a standard spindle gouge. This is a 3/4 inch from Hurricane, which is brought into country by Crown. It's that M2 high-speed steel, and they're from Sheffield, England. Really love these tools. And again, we're going to find our bevel again. And once it starts to cut, we're just going to round around. We get just kind of a nice round look on the top up there. Now if we look at it, we want to maybe get a little, want to round this over. Just find your spot. And this is going to have a smaller cutting surface, so you should get a nicer cut if we can maintain our bevel all the way down. This will make our sanding, just want to make sure we don't have any weird knobs or tool marks there. Okay, I kind of like the way that looks a little better. I think we could taper it just a teeny bit more down this direction. I'm going to move my tool rest in, just a little closer support. And I'm going to drop it just a hair so I can keep my cutting edge on the center line of our piece. And remember, for a muddler, we want a flat surface here. We don't want to round that over in this particular design. Let's take a look at how you can see that from the other side here. Kind of give you an idea that the taper itself is not terribly severe. But if we go to the top up here, just to give you a rough idea, let's call it 1.5 inches up here, and we're about 3/4 of an inch at the bottom. And our total length is just over 6 inches. So once we get up to that point. So for us to go ahead, so if we're looking at it from over here, you can really kind of see how the taper looks and how we have our ball up here. Now at this point, when I'm getting ready to start sanding, I'm going to see I've got a couple little pinholes. Now these are not important for a muddler, but I still think when they're sitting out on your table, this also though takes a little extra time and it cuts into your margins if you're thinking, you know, about that. If you're spending any time doing any little fills, got some interesting swirlies here as it started vibrating in the middle on me a little bit, but that'll sand right out. So I'll just put a little drop of CA on there, and then I'll grab some of my accelerator and zap it. Yeah, it's just the Star Bond medium. It's great for filling little pinholes. So when someone runs their hand over it when they're done, it'll feel finished, right? So once that's dried up, we can still use our spindle gouge. Again, we're going to find our bevel. And that should clear that off for us. If we take a look there, that should be nice and tight. That's what we want. See? Our pinhole is nice and filled. Now on these, sanding is super easy. I don't start working my ends off here until after I've sanded this part, so keep it a little more stable. And for sanding on this, we are going to start out at 180 grit, which is a nice place to start. I think I have one here. All right, here's a 180. So all we're going to do, still spinning really fast, and not a lot of heavy pressure, just light pressure. Once you see no visible tool lines as you're going over it, if you guys can look in here, you'll see there's a little, woo, pulled it right out of my hand. I'm telling you guys to go light and gentle, and I forgot I got to hold on to it. I just got to light and gentle touch it here. So let's keep our eye right here. And as those marks go away, we do have a knot there. That's why there's a couple little marks. We'll come down to the bottom here. Once everything looks nice and smooth in this direction. See, not much sanding there at all. I know you don't like to watch sanding. Now, since we're in the long grain, I like to go across the whole piece with the grain before I switch to my next grit. Just kind of gets rid of some of those smaller looks. Okay, now we'll go to 220 grit. We'll speed through this though for you. Okay, we'll move on to our 320 grit, which I have that in Abranet right now. I don't have any more of my gold for that one. So just a little 320 grit Abranet. This will just take a few light passes. Remember, we're not putting much pressure on the wood. Let the cutting surface do the work. Okay, feels good. I'm going to go ahead and hit that across the grain again. Get nice and shiny now. See a little something right there from that knot. See how that comes out when we get a little mineral oil on it. Okay, and our last grit is going to be 400 for this size, this style. Feels great. I don't go against the grain on that one. Now for this, we're just going to use the grit, which is just our shop grit. There's a nice video if you guys want to learn how to make this. This is the hard version. This uses about 40% more beeswax than the looser version, which I like to use on my bowls. Still at a very high speed. It's going to kind of let it melt itself on. Once I have it all the way in there, now I'm going to work it into the wood. Just some little swirly motions, because this has an abrasive in it. It's going to get out any final scratches, and it's got some mineral oil and some beeswax in it, so it's also going to protect the wood and give us a really nice shine. Once you got into a spot there, we can get it on this edge a little bit, but we're going to probably address that edge a little more, although I like that look. So this will be kind of a fifth style. If you guys hang around to the end, you'll see a bunch of other ones I made for this next show coming up. And I make them a bunch of different styles for this because it seems, unlike honey dippers, where people, the more selection people have, the harder it is to buy something. People are always looking for something unique when it comes to barware, has been my experience. Now, you might have a different experience. Your mileage may vary, as they say. But there you go. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Now, a lot of times I will take these and I will also, before I put the final finish on, I'll ebonize them. And I think that when you ebonize them, you can get some really pretty looks too. And I'll show you a few pieces that have been ebonized as well. But now we're kind of down to almost being done. So all we have to do is put our lid back on our grit so we don't get full of sawdust. And we're going to go ahead and use our thin parting tool to take a little bit more of this material off here. And we'll do the same down here on the base. And then I'm going to take those over to the bandsaw and just zip the ends off, and then we'll come back here to the lathe and I'll show you how we finish the ends. But this is what we got right now. Well, that doesn't look like much yet, but trust me, we're almost there. So let me go nip those ends off and then we'll set up for final finishing. Okay, you see I've put my little 2-inch with the Jacobs chuck in there. We've gone ahead and bandsawed off the little nub on the top and the bottom. So all we have to do now is shine that up a bit. I've got 220 grit on here. I'm just going to come in gently and roll the edge all the way around. It's going to have a slightly convex center until we get right to the middle there and come across. And if the edge feels a little rough to you, just got to kiss it along here. Just kind of put a teeny little chamfer on it. Very good, with a really nice look right there. I think if you get a close up in there, you can really see that we've got a nice, clean, attractive feel. Same thing we're going to do for the top. We're going to just come in and just get off that little excess and get rid of those bandsaw marks. Get a good look at it. Make sure you like how it's coming. You want to go with the grain when you're pulling out, and you'll end up polishing it up nice, and any scratches get hidden in the grain if you left anything behind there. So just kind of come in at a slight angle and then rotate it around. One super light angle across the grain in each direction. And we've got that looking pretty good. Now the next step I do, because that end is the big reveal on these, especially if I'm doing it in two tones, and I can show you that if you're interested in seeing how the two-tone works. Let me know in the comments if you guys want to go through a process of kind of some ways you can embellish these to really make them pop a little differently. I'm going to grab a 600 grit now. I know we're going straight from 220 to 600, and there's a reason though, because we want to get kind of a burnished polish on this. So let me tighten that up. So I really like kind of a burnished look on these. Gives it a really pretty look once we put some heavy polish on it. So we're going to come in around the edge here now with the 600 and really just start to polish that up. And I'm barely putting any pressure on it there. But I see a line here that I missed earlier, so I might have to come back. But if you come into that, just kind of roll it around the edge, you'll start to get a really nice shine on that end grain. And that's really kind of worth the effort. But if you end up at a spot where I did, see, I got a mark here. I don't like that mark. I think that's ugly. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to go back to 220. Oops. Getting ready to lose my Velcro there. I'm going to go back to the 220. That's 180. Here's the 220. So we go back to the 220. And I'll show you what I do to get rid of these. I'm going to pull it in slowly and roll. So if you keep a nice light hand touch on it, you should get rid of all those marks. I can still see one little mark there. So keep a nice light touch on it. You don't want to overdo it or you're going to end up with a funny shape. There you go, all gone. So now we'll pop back up to 320 and then we'll end with our 600. And we have to do the 600 on the mushing end too, the mushy end, the muddling end, the business end of the muddler. So now that we have everything nice and smooth, we'll do the same thing. I'm slowly pulling it towards me as I rotate. This keeps our radius looking nice. And again, no one likes to watch sanding, I apologize, but I also want you to know how easy it is. Just a little bit of patience and time to really make these things look beautiful. Yeah, that looks really nice. All right. Yeah, that looks really good. I'm going to come around one more time. I'm turning it counterclockwise. And I have the lathe in forward. And I like the way that looks. Now we'll go back to that 600 and really kind of put a shine on that. And then we can easily add more shine with obviously a little bit of carnauba and a little buffing. So I'm going to come back to my top here again, get that first, and then come around my edges here. And again, I'm rotating counterclockwise, light pressure. You can see we're barely deforming the foam pad. Now I'm going to go clockwise. And we should have a nice shiny polished end. Same on the bottom here. Coming from the middle, coming out. Rotate it, quarter turn. I'm going to do it 4 times total. You got a beautiful end like that. So all we normally have to do is take the towel we were already using with some wax on it here. There's the wax we already had. And we're just going to kind of work that into the end up here. I just kind of roll it around in my hand until I get a finish that I'm happy with. That looks pretty good. I'll do the same thing down here. Although it looks like I might be running out of wax on this little piece here. Get around our little chamfer we did and really rub it in there. Right, that's pretty much the whole process. So let me get this together with the other ones I've done so you can see there's a bunch of different options, different shapes and sizes we can do. I'll be right back and we'll walk through that. Okay, you can see we've got a whole stack of muddlers here. So I've got the one we just finished here, kind of gives you an idea. You can see the top is nice and shiny, stands up nice and straight, pretty straight grain. That's your standard version here. Now since these are round, hopefully it'll stay on my lathe. Then you have a little one step further. So this is an ebonized version. It's a little more rounded over, a little smaller diameter. But I left up, when I ebonized it, I left that on as I was ebonizing the nub, and then when I cut it off and polished it, you get that beautiful contrasting part, like a little tiger eye inlay. And I got nice hard ebonized on the bottom. The end grain always ebonizes better. So roughly the same size, but definitely a different look. You can tell it came from the same log here. Oh, these are going to go all over the place. Let's stand them up over here. How's that? All right, and then you have a little handle, something a little different. Get some fingers around that for big muddling. You can grab it like a palm mount as well. And it has a slightly concave, super highly polished end on this side. So this one would stand up this direction. It's still going to wobble because I put a little concave on it. But that's kind of a neat little muddler. People look at that and go, that's cool. Then you have this one, which we're not going to talk about because my wife said some terrible things about it. But it's got a big flat base, stands up nice and tall. It has a palm mount for mashing stuff. Again, it's just like a mortar and pestle. This would be your pestle, but you still have a big thing for getting in that cocktail glass. And then you can go really crazy. I did a two-tone version here. So I did a special thing where I mask a bunch of the cherry using wax and then ebonize just that end portion there. So you end up a little dirty right now. And then I put a fancy little cast resin ball on the end. Show me there's one lady bartender out there that's not going to go, okay, I got to have the one that looks like a wand, like it's my magic stick. But I think that this double ebonizing, when you ebonize with the mask on it and then come back out and finish it over, really gives it a kind of a cool look. So there you go. We have got 5 muddler designs right there. Clean that out. And this is all you do. You put your cherries, your cocktails, your mint, whatever, and mush it up in your little cocktail glass. So makes me think I should be a cocktail guy, but I'm not a cocktail guy. I wish I was a cocktail guy. But these sell really well, guys. That's the kind of the point. You saw how fast we can get through making a few of those. You have those offcuts, the design opportunities. There are a ton of them. I mean, you can do just about anything you want, shape-wise. And having a variety of them, unlike a lot of other products, doesn't create that paralysis. People are looking for something unique and original that they can play with on their own and kind of put a little personality to their bar. When you're buying a kitchen utensil, like I've said before, a lot of times, too much selection, paralysis of analysis, and people don't buy. They sit there trying to decide what they want. Put 2 or 3 out at a time of a certain styles, boom, you get a lot faster sales than if you have 2 dozen of something and they got to dig through them to find the one they like. So that's it for today. Let me switch over to the Tony cam real quick here, and we'll wrap it up. All right. So hopefully you guys had a good time showing how you can make a quick and easy, good selling product for your craft fairs, the muddler. So hopefully you guys get out and turn one. If you do, please post a picture of it on our comments page, our little community page there. I really appreciate seeing what you guys do with the ideas and just kind of the spins you get on them. I learn something every time someone posts. It really, really helps us out. And of course, those comments, likes, subscribes, hypes, all the stuff that YouTube needs me to produce to show that we're creating content that's worth showing to people. And if you think so, leave me a comment down below. I really appreciate the comments. I read every one of them. I respond to them. I really enjoy interacting with you guys. So until next week's video, guys, get out there and turn something.